How many times have you found yourself thinking that your life seems to be going in circles? That no matter how hard you try, certain things always repeat? That there seems to be an invisible pattern pulling you back to the same places, the same pains, the same stories? Perhaps you started a new relationship, full of hope, but suddenly found yourself dealing with the same fear of abandonment you felt years ago. Or maybe you keep sabotaging yourself at work because a voice deep down whispers that you're not good enough. The same voice that accompanied you in school when they said you wouldn't get anywhere. Or perhaps you simply feel a weight in your chest, a sadness that appears out of nowhere. But if you look closely, it has the old scent of things that happened a long time ago. Carl Jung, one of the greatest names in psychology, realized something that changes everything. We, human beings, do not react to the present as it really is. Most of the time, we are reacting to echoes of the past, as if we lived wearing glasses whose lenses have been painted by our wounds, our traumas, the unresolved stories we carry within us. That's why sometimes a small criticism feels like a devastating attack, or why a simple delay from someone awakens in you such a deep anguish that it seems disproportionate, or why you feel afraid to try something new. It's not fear of the future, but fear of reliving the pains of the past. Unbeknownst to us, we project our old experiences onto the now. We see the present through cloudy lenses that distort everything. Jung called this projection. He said that what we cannot see or accept within ourselves, we end up seeing outside, in others, in situations, in the world. And this is how the past begins to dictate the future. Because if we cannot differentiate what is real from what is memory, we end up reacting to people, opportunities, challenges, as if they were the same old monsters that once hurt us. To protect ourselves from these old pains, we create masks. Masks that Jung called persona. They serve to hide what we believe to be weak, shameful, painful. But some masks come at a very high price. They can distance us from who we truly are. They keep us trapped, preventing us from living fully, loving freely, creating something new for our future. There is a way to break this cycle. It involves seeing, with courage, where the present ends, and where the echo of the past begins. Only then can you stop living under the dominion of old stories and finally start writing a future that is yours. This video is for you who are tired of being stuck in the past, for you who want to understand why certain patterns don't change, and above all, for you who want to discover how Jung believed it was possible to break free. I won't promise you magic, but I will show you paths. Why is it so hard to simply leave the past behind? It's a fair question. After all, we live in a society that constantly tells us, move on, don't look back, get over it. But if it were that simple, we wouldn't be trying to understand why, despite all efforts, certain wounds keep reopening and certain stories keep repeating. Carl Jung discovered something that profoundly changes the way we understand ourselves. The way we see the world is not objective, neutral, or clear. We never see things exactly as they are. We are always looking through lenses, psychic lenses, shaped by our experiences, our history, our fears, our victories, and above all, our pains. In his work, Psychological Types, Jung talks precisely about this. He explains that each person develops throughout life their own ways of perceiving and interacting with reality. Some of us tend to think, analyze, and seek logic above all. Others feel before anything else, guided by the heart and emotions. There are those who live with their senses focused on what is concrete, tangible, here and now. And there are those whose minds seem always occupied with what could be, with visions, possibilities, and intuitions. These ways of perceiving the world are what Jung calls basic psychological functions: thinking, feeling, sensing, and intuition. They are not just ways of being. They are, in fact, deep filters that determine what we see, what we ignore, what we value, and even what we fear. It is these functions that, combined with our tendency to look more outward, extroversion, or inward, introversion, create the lenses through which we interpret everything around us. And here lies the crucial point. These lenses are deeply colored by our past experiences. When we go through something traumatic, painful, or significant, that experience leaves a mark, a color, so to speak, that tints our lenses. Thus, without realizing it, we begin to project the past onto the present. The boss's criticism is not just about your work. It echoes the voices that once said you were worthless. The partner who pulls away is not just a busy person. They become, in your perception, yet another confirmation that you will always be abandoned. Jung observed this repeatedly in his patients. Brilliant, capable people trapped in patterns they couldn't break. People who lived today but reacted as if they were still in the dark corridors of yesterday. And this happened because the lenses through which they viewed the world were stained, distorted, by the shadow of what was left behind. In the phrase, one sees what one can best see from oneself. Thus, first and foremost, one sees the mote in one's brother's eye. Jung means that we are inevitably inclined to see what corresponds to our inner world. In other words, our outward vision is, in fact, a reflection of what is inside. If, inside, there is fear, distrust, open wounds, it is this that we will see in the world. And if there are unresolved grievances, our perception distorts the present, turning any small detail into proof that the old stories remain alive. But there is also hope. Because if these lenses can be distorted, they can also be restored to show us the present as it is, without the echoes of the past. And it is precisely about this that we will talk in the next part. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Now that you know you do not see the world in a neutral way, but through lenses shaped by your history, we need to talk about one of the most transformative and also one of the most challenging concepts in Jung's thought: projections. You may have heard this word before, but I want to invite you to look at it with new eyes. Because in Jungian psychology, projection is not just a technical detail. It is often the mechanism through which the past remains alive in your present, influencing every step you take, every choice you make, every emotion that erupts within you without warning. Let's understand this together. Imagine, for example, someone who, as a child, had an extremely critical, harsh father who made a point of pointing out every little mistake, who belittled their dreams, and who often used words that hurt more than any slap. This person grows up and becomes an adult. But even far from the father, even when the father is no longer present in their life, or even when he has passed away, this person continues to react to authority figures as if they were facing that critical father. A boss who corrects something at work awakens not only the reaction to the present criticism, but also the emotional weight accumulated from years of censure and humiliation. This is projection. We project onto others our own content, our own emotions, which we do not recognize as belonging to ourselves. Jung said that what is unconscious within us, because it is too painful, shameful, or frightening to be accepted, tends to be projected outward. And then we begin to see in the world what is actually within us. Jung wrote, "Projection changes the world into the replica of one's own unknown face." That is why, often, different people seem to become the same person in our lives. For example, you meet someone new, and little by little, you start feeling that this person is just like that controlling ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend, or like that friend who betrayed you, or like your relative who never listened to you. However, Often this resemblance is much more within you than in the other. The other may even have similar characteristics, but it is you who is placing the weight of old wounds upon them. And there is nothing wrong or shameful about that. It is human. It is natural. It is the way our psyche tries to survive old wounds. The problem is that living this way prevents us from seeing people as they truly are. And even more seriously, it prevents us from living in the present. We get stuck in an emotional loop, reacting to the now as if it were the yesterday. Projections can also occur in seemingly positive ways. How many people enter a relationship believing they have found the soulmate? Often, they are projecting onto their partner the entire idea of perfect love, the image of the charming prince or the ideal woman. But as the relationship reveals reality, the image crumbles, and the frustration is devastating. Jung warned a lot about this, especially when he spoke of the anima and animus, the unconscious images of the feminine and masculine that each of us carries within. The most frightening, but also the most liberating realization, is that projection is not just something that happens to us, but something we do ourselves without realizing it. It is automatic. And that is why, until we recognize these projections, we will continue to react as if the present were just an endless continuation of the past. But there is a more subtle and equally powerful layer that keeps us tied to old stories. The masks we wear to try to avoid pain. Understanding their role is the next fundamental step in our journey.